My name is Evelyn Carter, and I'm 32 years old. 8 months ago, I believed I was planning the happiest day of my life. The wedding was scheduled for late October. The venue had already been booked, the florist had my color palette, the photographer had our engagement photos framed in a preview album. Everything was moving forward exactly the way a wedding should, except for one detail that should have worried me much earlier. I was doing almost all of it alone. My fiancé, Daniel Rhodes, insisted wedding planning stressed him out. According to him, he trusted my judgment completely, which sounded romantic in theory. In reality, it meant I handled the logistics, the budgeting, the deposits, the contracts, and most of the bills. Daniel's main responsibility was showing up to cake tastings and occasionally saying things like, "Whatever you think is best, Ev." We had been together for 3 years, and until recently, I thought we were solid, comfortable, predictable, the kind of relationship people described as stable. But sometimes stability is just another word for ignoring warning signs. And the first real crack appeared over dinner on an ordinary Tuesday night. We were sitting at our kitchen table, eating grilled salmon and a salad I had barely touched, because I was juggling emails from the caterer on my phone. Daniel cleared his throat. "So," he said casually, "I've been thinking about my bachelor party." I looked up. "Oh yeah? What are you thinking? Vegas with the guys?" He shrugged. "Actually, something a little more meaningful." That word alone made me pause. Meaningful how? He pushed his salad around with his fork. "Well, Olivia had an idea." I blinked. Olivia. His ex-girlfriend, the woman he dated for 2 years before me, the woman who somehow still floated around our social circle like an unwelcome ghost. "The Olivia?" I asked carefully. Daniel rolled his eyes. "Yes, Evelyn, Olivia. We're friends, you know that." Friends. Right. The kind of friends who still liked every photo each other posted on Instagram. The kind who always seemed to show up at the same parties. "Okay," I said slowly. "What was her idea?" He leaned back in his chair, clearly pleased with himself. "A trip to Europe." I stopped chewing. "A trip?" "Yeah, to Europe. For 2 weeks." My fork clinked softly against the plate. "2 weeks?" I repeated. "The wedding is in 6 weeks, Daniel." He waved a dismissive hand. "It's fine. We'd leave in like 10 days and be back with plenty of time." I felt the first faint pulse of unease. "Who's going?" Daniel hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Me, Olivia, Marcus, and Tyler. My brain froze. "Olivia," I said slowly. "Yes, your ex-girlfriend, Olivia." He sighed loudly. "Oh my God, here we go. You want your ex-girlfriend on your bachelor trip? Why are you making it weird?" "Daniel," I said, struggling to keep my voice calm. "How is that not weird? Because we're adults." He leaned forward, frustration creeping into his tone. "Olivia and I broke up 4 years ago. We're friends. That's it. You really need to get past this insecurity thing." Insecurity. That word landed like a slap. "Insecurity?" I repeated. "Yes," he said bluntly. "It's not attractive." I stared at him. "You're marrying me," he continued. "That should be enough reassurance." The conversation spiraled after that. Every concern I raised became another example of me being controlling or jealous or emotionally immature. He threw around phrases like modern relationships and healthy boundaries and trust. At one point, he actually said, "If you really loved me, you'd support this." An hour later, I was exhausted. Arguing with someone who refuses to acknowledge basic logic is like punching water. Eventually, I leaned back in my chair. "You know what?" I said quietly. "Fine." Daniel blinked. "Fine?" "Yeah." I picked up my glass of water. "Do whatever you want." His face lit up instantly. "Really?" I smiled faintly. "Of course." The relief in his expression was immediate. He leaned across the table and kissed my cheek. "Thank you, babe," he said warmly. "This is why I love you. You get it." I nodded. "Have a safe flight." What Daniel didn't realize was that I had already made a decision. Not about the trip, about everything. The next morning, I made my first phone call. The wedding venue. "Hi," I told the event coordinator. "I need to cancel my reservation." She sounded sympathetic, but cautious. "I'm so sorry to hear that, Miss Carter." Unfortunately, the $8,500 deposit is non-refundable unless there are extraordinary circumstances. What qualifies as extraordinary? Serious illness, military deployment, death in the family. There was a pause. Then she asked gently, "If you don't mind me asking, why are you canceling?" I took a breath. My fiancé is taking a 2-week trip to Europe with his ex-girlfriend as his bachelor party. Silence. A long silence. Then the woman said quietly, "Ms. Carter, I'm going to personally process this cancellation as an exception. You'll receive the full deposit back within 5 business days." I stared at the phone. "Thank you." After that call, I dialed my friend Trevor. Trevor had been one of my closest friends since college. He was also a lawyer. When I explained the situation, he went completely silent. Finally, he said, "Evelyn, that's insane." "I know." "What are you thinking?" "I need a private investigator." Another pause. "You're serious?" "Yes." "You're really doing this?" I stared out the window at the quiet morning street. "Yes," I said softly. "I am." That afternoon, Trevor gave me a name, a former investigator named Dominic. We met at a small coffee shop. After listening carefully to my story, Dominic folded his hands. "I can't follow them to Europe myself," he said, "but I can monitor social media, run background checks, and I have a contact overseas who can conduct limited surveillance." "That sounds expensive." "It is." "How expensive?" "For 2 weeks of monitoring?" He hesitated. $8,000 minimum. Possibly 12, depending on how deep you want to go. I didn't hesitate. "The venue deposit will cover it." Dominic studied me for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "All right." Meanwhile, Daniel was blissfully unaware. Over the next week, he was practically glowing with excitement. Packing. Shopping for new clothes. Planning itineraries with Olivia over FaceTime. "You're being so great about this," he told me the night before the flight. "I knew you'd come around." I smiled. "I just want you to have fun." The next morning, I drove him to the airport. He kissed me goodbye at the departure gate. "Love you," he said. "Love you too," I replied. I watched until his plane disappeared into the sky. Then I took out my phone and called Trevor. "Hey," I said calmly, "I need your help with something else." 5 days after Daniel's flight took off, the first report arrived. I was at my kitchen table when the email notification appeared. From Dominic. Subject: Initial monitoring report. My hands felt strangely cold as I opened it. The message itself was brief, but the attachments told the real story. I read the first line twice. Subject: Daniel Rhodes and Olivia Bennett checked into the same boutique hotel in Barcelona. Separate rooms, but adjoining. I blinked. Adjoining. I picked up my phone and called Dominic immediately. He answered on the second ring. "You saw the report," he said. "Yes," I replied slowly, "but something doesn't make sense." "What part?" "You said the group was traveling together. Daniel mentioned Marcus and Tyler were going too." But they're not staying at the same hotel." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" "Marcus and Tyler are staying at a hostel roughly 2 miles away." "A hostel?" "Yes." "And Daniel and Olivia chose a boutique hotel?" "Correct." I felt my pulse begin to throb behind my eyes. "Who made the reservation?" I asked. Dominic hesitated. "That's the interesting part." "Go on." "The booking was made 6 weeks ago." 6 weeks. Before Daniel even told me about the trip. "And it was made under Olivia Bennett's credit card." For a moment, I couldn't speak. Dominic continued. "Both adjoining rooms were reserved under the same booking confirmation." I leaned back in my chair slowly. "So they planned this before he ever mentioned it to me?" "Yes." My throat felt dry. "There's more," Dominic said carefully. "What?" "My contact in Barcelona observed them at dinner last night." "Together?" "Yes." "Just the 2 of them?" "Yes." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Describe it." "A candlelit restaurant," Dominic said. "They were seated very close, a lot of eye contact, his hand on hers for extended periods. The image hit me like a physical blow." "Any photos?" "Yes." "I want everything." "Understood." An hour later, the files arrived. I opened the first photo. Daniel and Olivia sitting across from each other at a small restaurant table, her hand resting under his, both of them laughing. In the second photo, they were walking through a plaza at night. Olivia's head was leaning against his shoulder. In the third photo, he had his arm around her waist. I closed my laptop. For a moment, I felt like I might be sick. Then something surprising happened. The nausea faded, and something colder replaced it. Clarity. I picked up my phone again. Trevor answered immediately. "Please tell me you didn't burn his passport or something," he said. "No," I replied. "But I need to know my legal options." "Regarding what?" "The $4,000 I gave Daniel for wedding expenses." Trevor paused. "Explain." 3 months ago, I transferred him $4,000, I said. "He told me it was for his suit, alterations, and bachelor party costs." "Okay." "He said the suit alone was $2,800. Did you see receipts?" "No." Silence. Then Trevor said slowly, "And now you think that money funded the trip?" "Yes." "That's potentially fraud," he said. My heart thudded. "Potentially? If we can prove he misrepresented how the money would be used, yes. I want to move forward." Trevor exhaled. "All right, first step is a demand letter. And if he refuses? Then we file a civil suit." "For how much?" "At minimum, the $4,000 plus damages." "Do it." While Trevor prepared paperwork, Daniel continued texting me every day like nothing was wrong. "Daniel, the architecture here is incredible. Wish you could see this." I stared at the message, then typed back, "Me. Sounds amazing. Have fun." A few hours later, another message appeared. "Daniel, miss you," I typed. "Me. Miss you too." If he suspected anything, he didn't show it. Meanwhile, Dominic's reports kept arriving. More dinners, more sightseeing. Almost always just Daniel and Olivia. Marcus and Tyler appeared occasionally in the background of photos, but most of the time, it looked exactly like a couple on vacation. On day 6, Daniel video called me. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. But then I answered. His face appeared on the screen, flushed and slightly unfocused. "Hey, babe," he said cheerfully. "You look like you've been drinking," I replied. "Just a little," he laughed. Behind him, I could see a dimly lit hotel room. "Having fun?" I asked. "So much fun," he said. "Honestly, this trip was exactly what I needed." "What have you been doing today?" "We did a walking tour earlier," he said. "Then Olivia showed me this amazing restaurant." "Olivia?" I repeated. "Yeah." "Where are Marcus and Tyler?" There was the briefest hesitation. "Oh, they went to some pub or something." "So it was just you and Olivia?" "Yeah," he said casually. "The others wanted to do their own thing." He smiled. "But honestly, Olivia's been a great tour guide." I held his gaze. "I bet she has." "What?" "Nothing," I said. We talked for a few more minutes. He seemed completely relaxed, completely confident, completely convinced he had done nothing wrong. When the call ended, I sat there in silence. Then I opened my laptop and started canceling the wedding. The caterer, the photographer, the florist, the DJ, one by one. Some deposits were lost. Some vendors were sympathetic when I explained. By the end of the night, I had recovered about $14,000 of the $32,000 already spent. I had personally paid $28,000 of that. Daniel had supposedly contributed $4,000, though at this point I was beginning to doubt that too. Later that evening, my mother called. "Honey," she said gently, "the florist just called me." My stomach dropped. What did she say? That the wedding was canceled. I closed my eyes. "I was going to tell you tonight." "What happened?" So I told her everything. The trip, Olivia, the photos, the investigation. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted nearly 10 seconds. Then my mother said calmly, "I never liked him." I blinked. "You didn't?" "No." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you loved him," she said. "And sometimes mothers have to let their daughters make their own mistakes." Her voice softened. "But he always acted like he was doing you a favor by marrying you." The words hit deeper than she probably realized. "You're better off," she continued. "Maybe," I said quietly. But the truth was, it didn't feel better yet. Not even close. 2 weeks later, Daniel texted me again. "Daniel, Landing Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Can you pick me up? I stared at the message, then typed, me, can't, work deadline, take an Uber. 3 dots appeared. Then his reply, Daniel, seriously? After 2 weeks you can't leave early? I smiled faintly. Me, sorry, babe. What he didn't know was that I would still be at the airport, just not where he expected. Daniel's flight landed at 4:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. I knew the exact arrival time because he had texted it to me the night before, still assuming I would be waiting outside baggage claim with open arms. Instead, I was standing inside the terminal near gate B17, holding a manila envelope. Trevor stood beside me, sipping a terrible airport coffee. You're absolutely sure about this? He asked quietly. Passengers were already beginning to filter through the sliding doors. Families reuniting. Business travelers rolling suitcases. The ordinary rhythm of an airport. Yes, I said. Trevor tilted his head. Because once you hand him that envelope, there's no undoing it. I looked down at the paperwork. The lawsuit had been filed 3 days earlier. Civil claim for $4,000 in fraudulent use of funds, plus damages tied to misrepresentation related to the canceled wedding. The demand letter had already been sent to Daniel's legal address, his parents' house. Tracking showed someone had signed for it. But judging from Daniel's casual texts, he clearly hadn't seen it yet. Yes, I said again. I'm sure. Trevor nodded. All right. Then the arrival doors opened again, and suddenly I saw them. First Marcus, then Tyler dragging a backpack and yawning, and behind them, Olivia Bennett. She was laughing at something someone behind her had said. Then Daniel stepped through the doorway beside her. His arm brushed hers as they walked. The two of them looked comfortable, familiar, like people who had spent 2 weeks sharing the same world. Then Daniel saw me. His face lit up. Ev, he said, surprised. He started walking toward me. Then he noticed Trevor. Then his eyes dropped to the envelope in my hand. His smile faded. Hey, what are you doing here? I stepped forward, calmly. Daniel Rhodes? He blinked. Yeah? I handed him the envelope. You've been served with a civil lawsuit regarding fraudulent use of funds and misrepresentation related to wedding expenses. For a moment, he simply stared at the envelope, like it might bite him. What? He said. Then he laughed, nervously. Okay, funny joke. It's not a joke. He opened the envelope slowly. His eyes skimmed the first page. Then the color drained from his face. What the hell is this? The $4,000 I gave you for wedding expenses, I said calmly. You used it to fund a trip to Europe with Olivia. That's fraud. Olivia stepped forward immediately. Whoa, hold on, she said sharply. You're seriously doing this right now? I didn't even look at her. Daniel's voice rose. You're insane, Evelyn. Am I? Yes, I used that money exactly how it was intended. Really? I asked. Then where's the receipt for your suit? He froze. It's at home. No, I said quietly. It isn't. His jaw tightened. You don't know that. Oh, I do. I pulled a folder from my bag. I checked the credit card statements for the joint wedding account. His eyes flickered. And guess what I found? Silence. A $2,100 charge to a travel agency, I continued. Made the same week I transferred the $4,000. Olivia's expression changed. Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. You lied about the suit, I said. You pocketed the difference and used my money to fund your little romantic vacation. Marcus shifted awkwardly behind him. Tyler looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. This is ridiculous, Olivia snapped. You had someone spying on us? I hired a licensed investigator, I said calmly. And everything he documented is included in the lawsuit. Daniel's face went pale. You followed us? I documented what you were doing with money you took from me. You're crazy. Maybe, I said. But the wedding is still canceled. His head jerked up. What? All the vendors have been notified. The venue canceled. The caterer canceled. The photographer canceled. The DJ canceled. We're done, Daniel. People nearby had started watching now. A small circle of curious travelers. Daniel's voice dropped to a harsh whisper. You canceled our wedding? You took a 2-week vacation with your ex-girlfriend. What did you think was going to happen? It was a bachelor trip. With your ex, who you stayed in a hotel with, who you had romantic dinners with, while your actual friends stayed somewhere else. His face twisted. You had someone follow me across another continent? I had someone verify what you were doing. Olivia scoffed loudly. This is insane. You're just jealous. I finally looked at her. Olivia. Yes? You helped him plan the trip. So? You booked the hotel. So? You knew exactly what this was. Her smile faltered. You're making assumptions. No, I said. I'm reading evidence. I gestured toward the envelope in Daniel's hand. You have 30 days to respond to the lawsuit. My lawyer's contact information is on the second page. Trevor gave Daniel a polite nod. Then I turned around. Wait, Daniel shouted. I kept walking. Behind me, his voice rose. You can't do this. You're crazy. You're destroying everything over nothing. I didn't look back. Olivia was yelling something. Marcus was trying to calm Daniel down. Tyler looked mortified. Trevor caught up with me as we reached the escalator. Wow, he muttered. That was nuclear. They deserved it. Oh, absolutely, he said. I'm just saying. Damn. We walked into the parking garage. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt like I could breathe again. Later that night, my phone started exploding. Texts. Calls, voicemails, most of them from Daniel. I blocked almost everyone, except him. Trevor had advised me to keep that line open. Evidence. The messages came in waves. Daniel, we need to talk like adults. Daniel, you humiliated me in front of everyone. Daniel, I'm coming over right now. Daniel, Olivia is just a friend. Daniel, you're being ridiculous. Then an hour later, Daniel, my lawyer says you don't have a case. That one made me laugh. Daniel didn't have a lawyer. He couldn't afford one. And for the first time since this entire nightmare began, I realized something. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was just done. The week after the airport confrontation felt like living inside a storm. Daniel tried everything. First, he showed up at my apartment building. I watched him through the peephole while he pounded on the door. Evelyn, open the door. We need to talk. I didn't move. You can't just destroy our lives like this, he shouted. Our lives. That phrase almost made me laugh. He kept yelling for nearly 20 minutes. Finally, my neighbor across the hall cracked her door open and said sharply, "If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the police." Daniel cursed under his breath and stormed down the hallway. I had recorded the entire thing on my phone. Trevor loved that. Perfect, he said when I sent him the video. More documentation. When Daniel realized he couldn't reach me directly, he tried another strategy. Mutual friends. Within days, I started hearing rumors. Apparently, Daniel had been telling people that I had overreacted, that I was controlling, that I had hired someone to stalk him because I couldn't handle a harmless vacation. Some people believed him. Most didn't. Because once the details came out, the story changed quickly. When people heard that Olivia had been on the trip, when they heard about the separate hotels, when they saw the photos of the candlelit dinners, suddenly Daniel's version sounded a lot less convincing. One evening, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. Hello? Evelyn? The voice was familiar. Bridget? Daniel's older sister sighed. Yeah. Bridget and I had always gotten along surprisingly well. What's going on? She asked. You probably already know, I said. I heard part of it, she replied carefully, but I want to hear your side. So I told her. Everything. When I finished, she was silent for a moment. Then she muttered, Jesus, you didn't know? No, she said quickly, but I told him not to go on that trip. You did? Of course I did, she said. It looked terrible. Then why did he go anyway? Because he said you were fine with it. I blinked. He told you that? Yes. He said you supported the whole thing. I let out a bitter laugh. So he lied to both of us. Looks that way, Bridget said quietly. I'm sorry, Evelyn. It's not your fault. For what it's worth, she added. You dodged a bullet. Meanwhile, the lawsuit moved forward. Daniel eventually hired a lawyer, some overly confident guy who clearly believed Daniel's victim story. His first letter to Trevor was aggressive. It accused me of harassment, defamation, even unlawful surveillance. Trevor responded with surgical precision. He pointed out that hiring a licensed investigator was perfectly legal. He reminded them that truth is a defense to defamation, and he included copies of the financial records we already had. After that, Daniel's lawyer got a lot quieter. Then discovery began. That's when things got interesting. We subpoenaed Daniel's bank statements. The travel agency charge appeared exactly where I said it would, $2,100. The same week, I transferred him the $4,000. Then another discovery surfaced. Hotel charges. Boutique hotel charges, paid with Daniel's card, which raised an obvious question. If Olivia had supposedly booked the hotel, why was Daniel paying for it? Then we found the Venmo transactions, dozens of them. Payments between Daniel and Olivia going back months, some labeled with inside jokes, some labeled with heart emojis. The trip hadn't been spontaneous. It had been planned for a long time. When Daniel realized how much evidence we had, his desperation escalated. He tried to access the joint savings account we had opened for wedding expenses. Unfortunately for him, I had already emptied it and closed the account the day after the airport. It had been mostly my money anyway. About 90% of it. The bank called me later that afternoon. Apparently Daniel had shown up in person demanding access. When they informed him the account no longer existed, he reportedly started yelling about financial abuse. That wasn't even the strangest part. The strangest part was his mother. Patricia Rhodes began calling my family, my mother, my father, even my grandmother. She told them dramatic stories about how I had abandoned Daniel, how I had humiliated him, how their family was devastated. My mother shut that down immediately. Patricia, she said calmly, your son took a 2-week romantic vacation with his ex-girlfriend using my daughter's money. He has photos. He has receipts. Maybe you should ask him what he was thinking. Patricia hung up. She never called again. 3 weeks after the airport incident, something else happened. Daniel's friend Marcus sent me a screenshot. Daniel had posted a long rant on social media. Something about cancel culture. About how people didn't understand modern relationships. About how complicated love could be. The comments were brutal. Bro, you went on vacation with another woman while engaged. That's not modern love. That's cheating. This ain't the hill to die on. The post disappeared within hours, but screenshots live forever. Daniel tried one last attempt to fix things. A handwritten letter. It arrived at my apartment building's front desk in a plain envelope. The handwriting was unmistakably his. Inside the letter, he wrote, I made mistakes. I see that now. But I love you. Olivia meant nothing. She was just comfort, just familiarity. You're the one I want to marry. Please talk to me. I took a photo of the letter and sent it to Trevor. He replied immediately. Beautiful. What? I texted. She just admitted the relationship. Eventually, the case ended in a settlement. Daniel agreed to repay the $4,000 in monthly installments, $400 per month, 10 months total. More importantly, he signed a statement acknowledging that he had misused funds intended for wedding expenses. His lawyer tried to fight that clause. Trevor calmly reminded them that if we went to trial, all the photos and evidence would become public record. Daniel signed. The settlement meeting was the last time I saw him. He looked exhausted. Older. Olivia wasn't with him. Apparently, they had stopped speaking shortly after the lawsuit began. As we were leaving the building, Daniel spoke quietly. Evelyn. I stopped. I'm really sorry. I studied him. Okay. That's it? He asked. What else do you want me to say? I thought, he started. You thought what? That I could have both. The security of you, he said softly. And the excitement of Olivia. At least he was honest. How did that work out for you? I asked. He didn't answer. I walked away. For good this time. The wedding cost me about $14,000 in losses, even after refunds and the settlement. But honestly, it was the best money I ever spent. Because I learned who Daniel really was before we bought a house. before we had children, before our lives were permanently entangled. Some people told me I had been too harsh, that I should have talked to him first, given him a chance to explain. But the truth is, he already had chances. Every conversation about Olivia, every moment he could have chosen honesty. He chose manipulation instead. The lawsuit wasn't really about the money. It was about accountability, and he faced it. These days, my life is quieter. Work keeps me busy. My apartment feels peaceful. And recently, I started seeing someone new. We met at a friend's party last month. On our second date, I told him the entire story. He listened, then laughed. "Wait," he said. "Let me get this straight. Your fiancé tried to gaslight you into accepting a vacation with his ex. You hired a PI, caught him lying, served him at the airport, and sued him?" I nodded. "Pretty much." He grinned. That might be the most competent response to betrayal I've ever heard. Then he asked, "Want to grab dinner Friday? Our third date is this weekend." Meanwhile, every month, like clockwork, $400 appears in my account. A small reminder that actions have consequences, and sometimes closure arrives one payment at a time.